love, life, and lunatics. The pretty lies, the ugly truth I'm sick with. Love, life, and lunatics. So crazy but can't get enough of it.
Welcome to Love, Life, and Lunatics, a podcast where I share personal stories about my life, my loves, and some crazy situations that I unfortunately got myself into. Sometimes I'll have a guest who will also share a story or two about a time that changed their life or had a hand in making them who they are today. So, hang out with me for a little while and enjoy Love, Life, and Lunatics. Welcome back to Season 2 of Love, Life, and Lunatics. Oh my goodness. You know, the first season of this show was really introspective and fun for me to do. I've kept journals since I was in the second grade. Sometimes I go and read them, and my goal is to gift all of them to Gianna when she's a grown woman, so she can kind of read my little life journey, you know, in my own words. But when I was looking through them, there's so many life stories in there, some that I probably won't share on this podcast, but there's so many cool life journeys in there, and I was happy to find that with a few of them, not all of them, I really did learn the lesson, and I applied the lesson to my life and don't make those mistakes anymore. So that was nice, but I did find myself, especially when it came to relationships or friendships, that seems to be my vulnerable part. I really do ride for my people. It's a great thing sometimes, and sometimes it's not. That's just a part of my personality. But as I've gotten older, I try not to be jaded. I just try to be educated and make sure I don't repeat mistakes. So anyway, that was one of the cool things about Love, Life, and Lunatics, Season 1. So this is going into Season 2. There's going to be quite a few things I talk about. I've written out a lot of the stories that are going to be in this series. This is one of those shows that you just put on and you just leave on and you go and wash the dishes, fix your car, draw, do your hair. You know, it's just one of those shows that you can play in the background. Not all of those stories are going to be shocking. I tend to not do that when it comes to life stories. Life is shocking, but sometimes it's traumatically shocking, and I don't necessarily think I want to do too much of that. Because I'm a writer as well, my writing is always dramatic and traumatic. So I don't reveal a lot, but then I do. So anyway, I just like to have a show like this so that I can connect with other people. I'm happy for everyone who listened to Season 1, and if you didn't, go on back and take a listen and tell me what you think when you get done, if you want to. We're going to get into this first story of Season 2, and this story is called Worst Date Ever. In the fall of 2015, I was booked and busy. I was doing a lot of audiobooks. I think I had accepted 4 or 5 titles to narrate and produce. I learned to never accept that many books again. I was a bit overwhelmed. I would spend hours in my vocal booth reading the book for days, sometimes weeks. Then I would spend even more hours editing. I would edit in my bed, at the park, at the coffee shop, in my car, just everywhere. However, I had no real interaction with anyone. I lived alone. Sometimes I would talk on the phone, but not for too long. I had to make sure my voice was not overused, and I had to work. I worked around the clock to meet deadlines. There was no balance in my life. I was learning how to produce audiobooks, but that's all I was doing. I needed a fun outlet. Working from home can be consuming. I decided I wanted to meet a distraction. A man. I had been in a 3-year relationship. I ended that relationship, went on tour for a bit, came back home, and started producing audiobooks. After being single for a little over a year, I felt like I was ready to rock. I met a nice man on a dating app. We spoke on the phone. I'm not big on texting to get to know someone. He was very eager to meet and take me to dinner. We had a few things in common, so we made plans to go to a nice restaurant where the house band was pretty good. The day that we were supposed to meet up, the program I used for my narration recordings crashed. I could not breathe. Over 5 hours of work, an entire book was gone. I was trying to troubleshoot and was frantically sending emails to tech support. There was nothing I could do to fix the crash. I had to start the project all over again, which meant I wasn't going to meet my deadline. I spoke to my grandmother, and she told me not to cancel my date. I needed to take my mind off of that problem. So I took her advice and put myself together for that date. I was about 15 minutes late getting there. He was standing outside of the restaurant, visibly upset. I approached him, smiling, and apologized for my tardiness, to which he replied, "You better be glad you weren't 5 more minutes late. Otherwise, you would have paid the entrance fee for the both of us." I was not expecting that answer. He quickly took my hand, kissed it, and gently dragged me into the restaurant. We had a table outside on the patio, a few feet away from the band. He ordered a drink. I don't remember what it was, but it was strong. I don't drink alcohol, so I just had a Shirley Temple, my favorite. We began to talk about life. Somewhere in the conversation, I mentioned that my father had been in the military, and I was born in Germany on a U.S. Army base. He said he had also been in the military. I asked him which branch, and he responded, "Marines. Hoorah!" Then swallowed his drink and slammed the glass on the table. What? I excused myself to go to the restroom and called my sister Jamie. I just wanted to update someone on my date because I wasn't sure about him. I walked back to the table. On my way back, I noticed that a few guys were seated at the table next to us. "Sup, shawty," said one of the guys. Great, I thought to myself. I quickly sat down. Let's call the gentleman that I was on a date with Mark. Mark's face looked tense. The waiter brought him another drink. He ordered another drink? He then started to talk to me. His eyes were slanted. Great, I thought to myself. He leaned into me and told me I was beautiful. Then, someone from the table next to us was flirting loudly with me while disrespecting my date. Mark grabbed his drink, downed it, and then turned around and began cussing those men out. Goodness gracious. Once I was able to calm him down, we left. We walked and talked, making our way to our cars. We got to his blue Corvette. He asked if he could drop me off at my car, which was just a couple levels up in the parking structure. I agreed. Once we got up to my level, I thanked him for the date, hugged him, and got into my car. I drove away. Mark texted me the next day. I let him know that I wasn't interested in another date, but I wished him well in his search. I continued on with my life. I finished a couple of audiobook productions and felt great. Mark continued to send me messages, asking me to reconsider. It had been about 6 weeks from our last date. He called, and finally, I answered him. He was very nice and asked me to let him prove to me that he was a good guy and maybe we'd be a great couple. I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt, and we planned a second date. We were going to go to a nice Italian restaurant and then to a comedy club. Our second date was set out for 2 weeks so that I could concentrate on work. About 2 days before the date, I caught the flu. I was not feeling good at all and texted Mark to tell him we needed to reschedule. He begged me not to reschedule. I don't want to get you sick. I have a strong immune system. I won't get sick, please. I've put so much effort into this date. I reluctantly said okay. The night of the date, he picked me up in a white Corvette. Did you paint your car or? I asked. Yes. Do you like it? It's very nice. I got it done for tonight. What? I just wanted to start over, he said. I respected that. We went to Pinocchio's in Burbank. It was an older restaurant, and I had always wanted to try their food. We were seated and had a great conversation. He was so much more pleasant this time around. He told me about his family and what he wanted in his future. He was very interesting. I spoke, but not too much, as I didn't feel my best. He glanced down at his watch and said, "Ooh, we should get going so we can get good seats at the comedy show." I agreed. I excused myself to the restroom to freshen up. When I came back to the table, he told me he didn't have his wallet. Would you mind paying? I'll pay you back. Oh, okay. I couldn't gauge if he was being sincere or not, but we weren't going to get out of that restaurant without paying. I paid for the dinner, then we left. Mark was very touchy on our way to the car. I politely gave his hands back to him. Once we got to the car, he asked me if we could stop by his place so that he could grab his wallet, so that I wouldn't have to pay for the rest of the night. We had about an hour before the show started. He lived about 15 minutes away, so I said okay. I was trying to keep an open mind. He then leaned in for a kiss. I stopped him. "No, I am really sick," I told him. "I told you. I don't care about that," he said. "Well, I do. I don't want to get you sick." He sighed a deep sigh. After a moment of silence, I kissed him on the cheek. He quickly turned on the car and began driving. He was quiet. I felt the tension. I glanced at him and saw my pinkish red lip print on his cheek. I reached up to wipe my lipstick off of his face when he slapped my hand down so hard it hit the gear shift. I felt instant pain. He began yelling at me as I rubbed my aching hand. "I put so much into spending time with you. I painted my car. I chose a great restaurant. I even waited weeks to see you. And you won't kiss me?" I was quiet. I couldn't believe this was happening. He continued to go off, and I focused on the streets that we were passing. He made his way towards my street. "I would like this date to be over. Please take me back home," I said firmly. "Take you home? No. What is wrong with you?" "I don't feel good, Mark." We approached the light near my place. The light was red. You can just make a right here." "No. We're going to finish our date." "Okay, I'm just gonna get out here," I said, quickly undoing my seatbelt. Then before I knew it, Mark ran the light and immediately drove onto the freeway. "You made me wait forever for you," he yelled. "Mark, I want to go home now." "No. I'm gonna get my wallet and we're going to." He was swerving in and out of lanes, driving angry and fast. I was being thrown around the car. I felt like Diana Ross in Mahogany, in the scene where she and Anthony Perkins were in a speeding car and he wanted to see the fear in her face so that he could take pictures of her. He continued to yell at me and pass up exits. I screamed at my phone, "Call 911!" Immediately, 911 was on the line. "I'm on the 134 East going towards Pasadena in a white Corvette. A man named Mark won't let me out of the car," I yelled into the phone. "You called the cops? Fine, I'll take you home." I stayed on the phone with 911 until I got home. Once I got home, I quickly jumped out of the car. Mark continued to contact me from different numbers for about a year. I blocked each and every one. I didn't go on another date for about 2 months, but I refused to let Mark scare me from meeting an amazing man. My experience with him did teach me to go with my first mind. My intuition was on point and valid. I knew from that first night that he wasn't right for me. Whenever I don't trust the discernment that God provides us with, I have problems. However, that was definitely, by far, the worst date ever for me. The worst date ever. It's so funny because I have not had very many bad first dates. Normally, because I'm very confident with myself for the most part, when I've been on dates, I am there to discover someone new and understand who he is and see if he and I are compatible. That is the only thing that I'm thinking about on a first date. And a lot of times, I'm already no expectations. I'm relying just on my own personality. I like myself, so I'm going to walk in there nice and cool. And if it doesn't work out between he and I, that's cool. On to the next, wish him the best, and that's that. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. I wasn't able to date till I was 18, so maybe that's where that maturity comes in when it comes to dating. It's not that deep. If you guys cannot be together, then you guys may be able to be friends or nothing. And life goes on and you move on. I've always been that way. Whenever you're entering dating, have that attitude because you can't change anybody else. Can't make them what you want them to be. You have to accept them for who they are. And they have to accept you for who you are and not try to change you. In this particular story, I remember that I was gone for a while singing and I was not in the country all the time. I was gone. The band I was with, we were just colleagues. We just worked together. I was on a luxury liner, and this particular liner, it was for couples. I was not under any illusions that I was going to find someone. We were very much warned against talking to passengers and things like that, which I stuck to. Can't say that for all the band, but I sure enough stuck to that. So I was dating a little bit. There was Skype back then, and I had spoken to a couple of nice men when I was out there. And when I came back home, I met one of them. The other one just didn't work out. But this particular date, I knew straight away after that first date. It was just, Because right now, everybody's on their best behavior. Is this your best behavior? Am I on my best behavior? I already know that excessive drinking is just not going to work. From the first minute I saw him, we were probably not going to work out. And it wasn't because of how he looked. It was because of kind of what he said to me when he was like, you better be glad that you got here because otherwise you were going to pay for it. I remember in my mind, I said, no, we'll just go somewhere else because it wasn't very late in the night. So I think it was around 8 p.m. or something. So it really wasn't late. And there was so many things to do that when he said that, I was like, And it was some attitude. I was already committed to going on the date. So I was just going to do the date and that was going to be that. But I was going to be open. And I was. And then after the guys at the next table got into it with him and that whole exchange, I was like, no. I'm really not dramatic, you guys. I'm really not. I know I write a lot of very dramatic things. I know I am a singer and I sing dramatically. I know I am an actress and I act dramatically. But I promise you, I leave that where that is supposed to be. I really do not want a lot of drama in my regular life. I really don't. So I could only foresee that with him. But when you ignore your intuition, sometimes things like that happen. I haven't heard from him and I don't think I will hear from him. I hope I don't. But I hope that he is doing great in his life. I hope he found his forever woman. And yeah, that was the worst date ever. What was your worst date? I would love to know what your worst date was. That's one of my favorite pastimes is talking about best dates and worst dates. I don't know. Just always love that. I like to hear the fun stuff about dating and love and all that stuff. Anyway, there you go. That was the worst date ever. Thank you for listening to Love, Life, and Lunatics. Please share your thoughts about this podcast. And if you liked it, please like and share. I'd really appreciate it. Please check out my show notes in the description box for more information. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, see ya.
Love, life, and